Hey everyone, welcome to Tiny Bubbles. We are back to cover sorry, I got distracted. I'm on location. I'm in secret mole location right now. You have to use a tracking device to find me, and if a drone sees you for more than 3 seconds, you lose the challenge. So let's try that again. Hi, welcome to another episode of Tiny Bubbles. We are here covering the final 2 episodes of The Mole for Silent Podcast, where we are anything but silent. We are ending this season the way we started it, just me and my co-host JD. JD, I see you
What's
on a
up?
season 2, but otherwise, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really good. All things considered, I think we got left with a good batch of episodes this week. Of course, there's always going to be like the want for more, but for a first season back after 2 decades with a whole new producer and a whole new everything, I'm really, really happy with how this season turned out. And like you said, like I am already chomping at the bit for a season 2. Maybe we can go to like I don't know. I was thinking they were in Australia in like the winter, so maybe like a midsummer type season where they're
Mm-hmm.
just like stuck in Scandinavia where the sun never goes down. That'll be fun. Like I feel like the players would go insane, but like it's good TV, I feel like, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't realize that you were already like recruiting locations for the next season.
Listen, if they want me on production, I'm there. Just Alex, slide in my DMs. I will drop everything for you.
Well, I'm excited to talk about our last 2 episodes. It's funny because we started by covering 2 episodes as well. We're really just bookending it,
We're full circling it, yeah.
truly. So let's dive right into this. Episode 9 starts off with the result of our cliffhanger from last week, which is Joy gonna go home or is Jacob gonna go home?
Mm-hmm.
And put it bluntly, Jacob gets eliminated.
Yeah, I was loud and wrong. I was so sure that not only would Jacob survive this quiz, that he was the mole. So imagine my surprise when 5 minutes into episode 9, JD, big old goose egg for mole guesses.
Listen, Jacob was a very popular pick at the beginning of the season to be the mole.
He
So I
was.
don't think you're out of pocket and for thinking it. And he definitely did some shady things. But at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day, he, like many others, went after Joy in his mole pick and was eliminated.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like at this point, like it's kind of hard to not see Kazi as the mole. Like you see Jacob as what, like the third, fourth, fifth victim to putting answers on Joy during a quiz. It kind of
Hmm.
just becomes difficult to maintain the argument that Joy has any shot at being the mole when you hear so many people suspicious of her and those same people getting eliminated an episode or 2 episodes later. Um, and then I mean, sure, Avery could still be the mole at this point. Sure, Will could still be the mole at this point. But so many arrows consistently have pointed to Kasi where it's like, okay, I'm not gonna fight it anymore. Kasi's the mole.
Yeah, I mean, I still have my mole pick in at this point in Joy, so
Mm-hmm.
I didn't give up hope. But this episode specifically just made me be like, oh, we're not even hiding it anymore.
Yeah.
She might as well wear a name tag that says I'm the mole. So, the thing that actually was the most perplexing to me in this scene of Jacob being eliminated was when Will said Jacob was the realest dude that
I
played this
caught that
game.
as well. I thought they
Did
hated each other. What
Yeah, they
happened?
just roasted each other the whole time. Like they were calling themselves like or each other like dumb and dumber and like Will's confessionals about Jacob. Like I when he said that, I'm just like, what?
Well, I
Are
mean,
we talking about the
was
same
there
Jacob?
ever a point where Will was suspicious of Jacob as the mole? Because that could be what Will meant. But like that whole
Not that I
sentiment
recall,
kind of
but
feels like Will's cheating on Dom a bit too.
yeah, that's the other thing I was saying is like, oh, it's only like 6 episodes ago, but I guess Dom doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Dom
Still in
Cruise, you're
that car.
single. Are no longer in a bromance. You are allowed to find another man to bromance with.
Yep.
Will
Be
said he's
free,
done.
Dom.
So we head over to Snowy Mountain, and as I mentioned, I'm on top secret location, aka I'm staying with my friend in Denver, and we were watching this together.
Another snowy mountain, famously.
Yes. It is another snowy mountain. It's literal and figurative snowy mountain, but so I'm watching with my friend Nen, and Nen's like, "Have you noticed that they say that all of these are like the most physical elimination yet?" Like we've been getting a
Mhm.
lot of that phrase, and I didn't pick up on it at all. But to be fair, I do think that this ended up being the most physical
I agree.
challenge they had yet.
I was skeptical at first because what could be more physical than a 7-mile run? In my
Right.
head, at least. Trucking uphill up a snowy mountain definitely takes the cake. So they didn't undersell this mission at all, I don't think.
No, I don't think so either. And I mean, like the climate changes that these people have had to endure over
Right?
their 2 to 3 week time recording the mole. Like they've been in, I mean, Dom was locked in a hot car. The windows weren't even rolled down. Like
Mhm.
we're lucky he made out alive. That's child abuse in most states, like, but, and then we've got Joy in her loud snow pants on the mountain. I mean,
Yeah.
they were a great floral pattern. They were just loud.
Stylish for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like
So
that
we
kind of I feel like that has to be necessary for like snow clothing. Because what if you get lost? The wrinkle of your clothes will help draw people to where you are, right?
Gee, that's intelligent. I didn't think of that at all. I was just caught off by I'm like, this is a really intense floral pattern. And it could just be with the fact that like despite every single time me telling Stitch Fix to stop sending me floral pattern shit that they still do, just because I already have so much of it
Just accept the
from them
florals, Carrie. Just accept
that
them.
I'm
You're
yeah,
being
I'm
sent a
just
message.
I mean, my last name is that of a Dahlia, or my name is last name is Dahlia, not spelled the same way. I don't have the H. So maybe they are like, oh, this girl's Dahlia. Like it's a theme. She should
Yeah.
just
She
go
loves
with it.
flowers.
I mean, I don't actually we don't need to get into this, but here's my hot take. Fuck
Mhm.
flowers.
Really?
Oh my
That's
god.
bold, Carrie.
I mean, like they're nice or whatever, but like don't get me flowers. The amount that people spend on like weddings that flat for flowers and stuff, like it's just too much. I never
I
need flowers, like, I would rather I've told my boyfriend this, and he
Mhm.
knows this, like, if you're, like, gonna come over and you wanna, like, surprise me with something, bring me 10 chicken nuggets.
Ooh,
Don't
you
bring
know
me
what?
flowers,
Yeah,
bring me
yeah.
nugs, and
I
he
will
knows.
always take I'll always take chicken nuggets over flowers for sure. I
Yeah,
agree with you to the point where if the flowers are purely for decoration, like for one specific event, then it's not worth it because like once the event's done, you're done with the
right.
flowers. It's waste at that point. But like if you're gonna take care of the flowers, if you're gonna have them be like a nice permanent fixture in your home
Mhm.
or area or whatever, then yeah, sure. I'll like if I know that it's going to be something I have for a while, as opposed to 10 chicken nuggets, which will be gone within the span of like 10 minutes.
Right.
Like I will take
One
I'll take it.
yeah. So, anyway, maybe that's why, but
I think one chicken nugget a minute is a comfortable pace, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I won't question your chicken nugget pace. You eat however you want to.
Okay.
So we've got Joy's bright floral pants and the rest of the crew over on the mountain with Alex. And this mission, they have to, they're doing a snow rescue. So they have to divide up into two pairs. And
Mhm.
their goal is to collect money. So there's three different stops that there's going to be money available. At each stop, they have to use a tracking device to find the money. And they have 2 hours, I believe, to get up this mountain. And only the money that gets to the top of the mountain before time is up will go towards the final total.
Right.
So they have to split themselves up. And we end up with the teams Will and Avery and Joy and Cassie. What do you think of these pairings?
I think these were like the right pairs if you want to go off of the criteria of like splitting up so that both sides are as physically balanced as possible.
Mhm.
And I think that's the point Kasi makes
Yeah, she did.
when they're discussing how to split themselves up. I found it interesting that Kasi was also the person who was like insistent upon Kasi and herself and Will not being on the same team. Like, sure,
Mhm.
that's sort of like following the logic she was using to sort of split the teams up. So I'm not sure if it was like, Will is on to me. I don't want him to watch me, do what I'm about to do on this mountain, or if it was just in the moment, like trying to figure out what the best distribution was for the entire group.
Yeah, and something I wonder, and I'm hoping that we get the opportunity to ask this question, which is, does Cassie know like the results of the quiz? Does she know who's onto her and who isn't? Is production giving her that information? Because
That's something I'm very interested in finding out, because skipping ahead a little bit, we find out that well, should we say it? Should we just say it?
yeah, it's our podcast. We do what we want.
Okay. Kasi turns out to be our mole, as we find out in episode 10, our finale. And she brings up, after the bank heist mission, Will was the person who was onto her, and she pretty much spends the majority of the rest of the game trying to shake Will's suspicions of her. I wonder if this moment here, like as they're deciding the teams, was another moment for Kasi to be like, okay, I need to do something to shake Will off of me, or if she had just sort of like let it into higher hands at that point.
Yeah, and something that interests me with it is, if she knows that Will is onto her, does she also advocate for being on Cassie's, or not Cassie's team, she is Cassie, on Joy's team, because Joy isn't onto her, and is production like, hey, be with Joy, let's make this finale like exciting, like let's make it so the quiz actually matters, because really one question ended up mattering on the last quiz.
Pretty
Which
much.
I have a gripe with that we'll get to later, but I am wondering if it's Cassie's idea. I mean, I'm sure she talks with production, but
yeah,
in terms of it, but I just would love to know like what information she has in terms of, is this person onto her, this person isn't, like what do they tell her, what do they say, like do they leave to their own vices? And I definitely be interested in finding that out.
Yeah, the one thing I have towards leaning towards they don't tell her how people perform on quizzes is that Greg was another person who was on Takasi around the same time as the bank heist mission, if not a little later than that. If Kasi knew that Greg was starting to put answers in the quiz to her, like intentionally, I feel like there might have been more in an effort to try to shake Greg off as well. But I don't think we really see that at all. And I mean, it's really Joy who knocks Greg off the scent of Kasi.
As soon as Kasi was revealed as the mole, I DM'd Greg and was like, listen, you're who we need to talk to, because
you could have had it all.
That's honestly it. And like, I want to know what it was about Joy's performance that night that caused him to get off the Kasi train, because to me it seemed like Greg had her pinpointed before anybody else, because I think Will had suspicion of Kasi, but I mean he was after Samara, Casey, and then landed on Kasi. Like he had a couple of wrong moles along the way.
Like I think with Samara and with Casey, Will had mentioned on those quizzes at least that he split his answers. So maybe Kasi was who that split landed on. But I mean, I feel like there still needs to be quiz results are, I mean, if we can get something resembling quiz results, whether it be like the players after the fact, like self-reporting what they thought, how they thought they did. I mean, that information would be like, I feel like that would fill in a lot of holes that we have currently.
Let's circle back to this conversation, because I definitely want to have it more towards the end of like episode 10. But we'll keep going forward. We're definitely going to come back to that though. So
for sure.
We have our two teams. And Will's like, no one wants to work with Avery because all she wants to do is put suspicion on herself. So like she doesn't complete anything.
Yeah.
And I thought it was funny when Alex is like, all right, ready, set, go. And Avery takes off and just
Like
falls. And Will's like,
5
is it
seconds,
too
like
late?
not even 5 seconds into it, Avery just falls flat on her face. It was the
Yeah.
funniest thing.
I will. I don't know how to frame this.
Hmm.
Will grew on me. Like I'm still not exactly happy that he won. Like
Right.
I wasn't rooting for him. Not that I'm not happy. I'm happy for him. Um I don't like
You were
Jennifer.
rooting for other people.
Yeah, it's more just like the fact that the guy who was like me man, me strong, like one type of thing, given like
Mhm.
he's far more intuitive and perceptive than that statement that I just made. I don't want to seem like I'm just breaking it down to that, but uh I just had other rooting interests, and also it's just the fact there's like people who I know that we're rooting for him that I'm just
Mhm.
annoyed that like their favorite one because they annoy me. Which
I
is
mean
so petty, but that's just being honest.
I didn't really have much of a personal opinion on Will for much of this season, if only because he just like played into his role very well and
Yeah.
like his role and his archetype really well, and that's just not typically an archetype that I root for in like these
Mhm.
competitive reality TV shows.
Yeah.
Um, so I never really gave much thought to like how do I actually feel about Will. I mean, all
Mhm.
things considered, like to me, he is a great winner. I kind of feel like a Will win was telegraphed to us throughout the season just with the amount of content he's been
Yeah.
getting. Like either Will or Avery, I feel like were
Yeah.
slated to win this season, based on how everyone else was presented to us. Um, so yeah, I mean, I even now like I don't have any strong feelings towards Will. Like I'm happy for him that he won.
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
happy. Like I mean, I'm not like I'm not happy that he has like a bigger intuition than I thought he did. Like that feels weird to say. It feels a little weird to say that like I'm happy that you're smarter than I thought you were. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean I'm satisfied with the Will win. I'm trying to find the right word here. I'm content, I
I was
think.
gonna say, I bet you can tense the word. So
Yeah.
yeah. Well, back to our mission before we even get to our final three. We still have our final four.
Hmm.
And I think the main points of this mission that we should talk about is um the Joy and Kasi partnership is hilarious to me because um first of all, Joy and navigating just don't go well together. Like I think we can concretely
Again,
say that at this point.
yeah, I mean, tried giving Joy the benefit of the doubt after the first mission. We thought maybe it was nerves, maybe it was, she was intentionally misreading the map as like a first impression, like, ooh, please suspect me because I know I'm not the mole. Second time it happened with Jacob in the car, it was like, okay, these are two of the biggest moles out here. Like, this isn't super surprising. At this point, when Joy, I feel like, is firmly settled in, I am not the mole, I'm trying to win as much money as possible. To mess up on
Mhm.
navigating again, it's like, okay, Joy, what's the truth here? Are you really a pilot?
It's just okay. I'm gonna save that conversation for a few moments from now because
Yeah.
now that we have all 10 episodes of Joy, I am just perplexed and we're gonna have to break it down, but we're gonna
Yeah.
need like a full on Joy segment, and I can't do
Yes.
it in this moment. Um,
We'll get there.
Perfect. So when they find the money is in massive ice blocks.
Yeah. And for
Ice
a
is
second,
heavy.
I thought they had to like break
Break
the
open,
ice.
yes,
Yeah.
and they didn't. So Joy and Kasi collect the first one. It's only one block. Then they get to the next one and it's 2 blocks. And they decide to sorry, Nen just walked by like she's gonna be on camera. Nen, you're welcome in here. If you have any opinions.
Yeah, in the absence of
Oh,
Nitro.
she's watching us in the other room. That's funny. Oh,
Oh,
that's real
shout out to
funny.
Nen.
So, yeah, Nen's been keeping up with our podcast. So I'm at
Thank
our
you,
number
Nen.
one fan's house right now.
We love it. We love it.
So I thought it was kind of smart by Joy to be like, let's ditch one of these because
Mhm.
it's better to bring up $2,000 than it is $1,000. Or I mean, 2,000 and finish than finish with $3,000 but not get there on time. So like I was actually
Right.
team Joy in this decision. I thought it was
Yeah,
logical. But
I've
then
like it
Kasi,
was a good call.
yeah, but then Kasi's like, you know what will make it lighter if I just throw all of the ice cubes out into the snow.
What makes this dynamic so much funnier is the fact that Joy doesn't think Kasi's the mole at all, whereas player Kasi, is still so heavy on Joy as the mole. So to see a situation where the roles should pretty much be reversed, it's hilarious. Very ironic.
I can't wait for our Joy segment because I have so much to say. Okay. Um, so they get to the third part where there's $6,000, but it's in one massive ice block, which weighs
Mhm.
more than the other 3 combined, is what Alex says. And when Joy is pulling this ice block and Kasi was carrying one, but she like just dumps it again,
Yeah, like
like
Avery
Kasi,
style, just like
yeah.
just drops the ice block dead in the open.
Mhm. But then she while Joy is pulling the sled, like Kasi straight up just pulls the massive ice block off. And Joy's walking. She's like, this isn't that heavy. It's not that bad. It's like, yeah, because there's nothing on there right
Yeah.
now.
Like,
And she
did
turns
Joy
around.
not feel like the weight getting like steadily lighter as she moved on?
Now,
Because they switched off after the second beacon, where I think they have
yeah,
the set of 3 ice blocks.
yeah.
And Kasi didn't dump all of them at once. Like, it was a steady process. Did Joy not notice that the sled was getting progressively lighter? Like, at all? It took Joy looking back and seeing an empty sled to realize,
Kasi, you're
oh my god,
supposed to be
where does
watching
everything
the
go?
sled. And during this, like, Kasi's framing all of her decisions as I need Joy to be suspicious of me. Like I want her to think that I'm the mole because then she'll be wrong, which
Mhm.
is a little confusing to me because no, okay, I'm gonna save this. I'm saving it for the Joy segment. It all
Yeah.
ties into the Joy segment. So that's player Kasi is giving us like, oh, this is why I'm just throwing the money like up
Well, I
off the
think what
mountain.
Kasi was trying to do was double bluff. Because
Yeah.
I feel like with the diversion Joy had on Jacob, I believe, Kasi was one of the people who caught on to it being like, oh, Joy's full of shit right now. She isn't actually suspicious of Jacob. So maybe it was Kasi double bluffing, and
Mm-hmm.
B, Joy essentially calling the bluff
Mm-hmm.
in the sense that because Kasi is like making herself so outwardly suspicious, Joy is like, okay, Kasi is just being Kasi right now. That means I'm super right about Will.
Yeah, you can bring up that defense again when we get to our Joy
Okay.
segment
Okay, I'll make
because
a note of it.
I politely disagree. So,
Okay.
um they end up bringing up 6K. They got rid of all the other ice blocks that they'd accumulate. They
Mhm.
just finished it with 6K. They actually get there before Will and Avery. So Will and Avery, they get the first ice block.
Mhm.
They get the next 2 ice blocks. And Will's tired. He takes a break. It kind of seems like Will is trying to like slow the team down a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
for a second there.
yeah, I was like, oh, this is suspicious. You're like making a snow angel. They get to the 6K ice block, and basically Avery just like walked alongside the sled and Will did everything. um like
Yep.
it was
I
kind of
mean,
crazy.
it's
Will
hard
like
not to
hulked out
be
on
like
this
a
message.
yeah, it's hard not to be like a Jeff Probst a la Jonathan from season 42, where it's like,
Mhm.
wow, Will just carried like a massive amount of weight single-handedly, like barely any help from Avery, by himself up this steep ass mountain where it's snowy, the altitude's high, and again, like for Will to essentially do that challenge by himself, like I was impressed.
Oh, I definitely was. Like he was carrying ice blocks with his bare hands.
Yeah.
Um when Nen and I were watching, I'm like, I'm not convinced that the hands we're seeing on this table aren't prosthetics. Like, did he have to get them amputated after that mission? Because that was a lot. But no,
Yeah.
Will hulked out on that mission. They ended up bringing.
Third story would be to have to get from by straight
You went a little robot on me.
uh,
I'm not sure. Can you hear me? Oh, you're back.
okay,
Okay.
how's it now?
You went robot on me
Okay,
for a
cool, cool,
second.
cool.
We're back. We're back. We're back.
Uh-oh. Yeah, you went robot on my end too.
Oh, so maybe stream I don't even have the, like, bad Wi-Fi signal right now. Normally, when I robot, I have that
Mm,
signal, and I don't. So, it's someone's
I
fault.
don't think I got one either. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Alright. It's the mole. The
Yep,
mole's ruining our Wi-Fi. So, yeah, Will, very impressive in this. And they brought, what, $16,000 into the pot with that one?
yep.
Nice.
16K altogether. Yeah.
Yes. So, the next mission after they're off this mountain and in warm clothes, I thought this was interesting mission that there
I
are
really like
4
this mission.
yeah, there's 4 briefcases. One is worth $0, one is worth $1,000, one's worth $3,000, and one is worth $8,000. And what they need to do is amongst themselves assign each briefcase to a person. The person who gets eliminated, their briefcase will not get added to the pot. So
Mhm.
essentially, you want to try and give the $0 briefcase to the person that you think is going to go home.
Right.
And when they left that part of the mission, it was Will who took the 3,000, Avery took the 1,000. I mean, not the 1,000. Avery took the $0
One
one.
briefcase, yep.
Joy took the 8,000 and Cassie takes the 1,000. But how they got there was a little interesting.
Mhm.
Will kind of like put his feet up, hands like behind his head, kicked back and was like, "Nope. I'm not getting involved in this. I'm not giving you any insight on what I'm thinking." And Avery's
Yeah.
just like, "I'm too mentally tired. I don't want to decide."
I mean, I feel like if you're Will, I feel like Will is the only well, for Avery's purposes, she did play this well, but then kind of goes back on it in a couple moments. But for me, Will played it perfectly where it's like, okay, I'm going to let everyone else show their cards and I'm just going to agree with whatever is the final decision. Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, it was a great way for Will to collect info where you have, well, it was a great opportunity for Will to collect info at very little cost to him, whereas
Mhm.
everyone else was sort of giving up something in order to A, collect info, B, get the case they want, whereas it didn't really matter to Will as long as he didn't get the 0.
Right. And then what do you think of Avery being like, "I'm too tired." Also, do you want to see my co-host? His name is Star.
Aw, hi, Star.
This is Nen's dog. Star, do you have anything you need to say? Yeah, I
Who does
agree.
Star think is the mole?
So this is my co-host right now. Um, so
But yeah, back to
Avery, what do you
Avery.
think of Avery's
Like,
strategy?
I mean, I don't want to call it like a self-fulfilling prophecy, but we have seen Avery be wrong about her mole suspects, and she at this point she also, well, I mean, Avery doesn't know that she's wrong, but yeah, I mean, it was weird. I think Avery being so adamant about getting the empty case, I'm still like, as I'm looking back on it, I'm getting a little confused as to why she thought that was the smartest move for her.
Do you think that Avery thought more people assumed she was the mole than actually were like thinking? Hold on, let me rephrase it. Do you
Yeah.
think that Avery thought that more people were voting her for the mole than actually like was happening?
Um, that's a good
Because to
question.
me, that's like the
Yeah,
only thing that really makes sense of
that would have to be it, I think. Like, Avery has to think, okay, I still need to keep the charade of people thinking that I'm the mole, so I'm gonna take the 0.
yeah.
But we don't really get that kind of confirmation from Avery herself, though. We see pretty much everyone else see right through Avery's act, like, as far back as the beach mission.
Mhm.
Um, but we never, or I guess when, who was it? What, someone gets eliminated because they were starting to get suspicious of Avery. Was it Dom? I believe it was Dom's
Yes,
elimination.
yes, because she Gronk spiked the not fire extinguisher, and he was like, "That's weird,
Right.
mole."
Yeah. So I mean, I think that's the last time we get any insight from Avery on whether or not she thinks her strategy is working. I think everyone else, or at least everyone else that's still in the game at this point, has seen through the act. And I mean,
Mhm.
they're still keeping in the back of their mind, like, it could not be an act, but it probably is an act.
Yeah. I just was confused by it because I feel like near the end, if you're not the mole, I would say like final 4, maybe final 5 is a little too much, but
Hmm.
especially final 4, at that point, you have 1 in 3 chance of that money being yours. Why aren't you trying to accumulate more money?
Right.
You
Well,
know,
I mean,
like
because the game isn't over, right?
I
Like,
I yeah,
there's
but part of
still
the
a chance
game is the
that.
winner is like to win money versus if you know if you're confident in who you think the mole is, like yeah,
Mhm.
there's the whole like putting distraction stuff on of like hopefully people think it's me. And I mean, obviously like Joy was completely wrong on the mole. So
Mhm.
whatever Will was I guess not intentionally doing because he only tried to fuck up once and he couldn't even do that right in the last mission. um that I don't know. To me, I feel like at the final 4, if you're confident in what you're doing, it's like, all right, there's a 1 in 3 chance that this is mine. Like, let me ball out and get some money.
Yeah, but then your win condition becomes more difficult because if you're now being so adamant about getting money and earning as much money as you can, it kind of signals to the other players around you, especially if you're not in that final 3 situation yet, like, okay, I don't think Carrie's the mole because she's so, like, money hungry, essentially. The mole at this point would be trying to make big swings, not big swings to take money out of the pot, not to put money in the pot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess I mean, my counter to that would be the the double, triple, quadruple bluffing that this whole cast has been doing on themselves. Like, oh, is she
Yeah.
doing that because she doesn't want us to think that she's the mole, but she actually is the mole? And we've seen previous seasons where in the final um mission, the mole is like, I don't want to be too suspicious. Like, let's kind of like
Mhm.
lay low here. And usually it's like the non-mole players who then are moley, but um I don't know. I mean, especially with like how the way that this season went, any single
Mhm.
action could have been taken at face value or it could have been taken as a bluff, a double bluff, and like you could justify any of your decisions on what you thought about that action. So
Yeah.
I obviously would be like situational, but I don't know. I just don't really understand Avery's. I just think that, in my opinion, Avery might have thought that more people thought she was the mole than
Yeah. I
was
think in the
actually
moment,
happening.
Avery thought that it was a necessary move. The logic
Yeah.
behind whether it being a necessary move is up to debate, I think.
Yeah. I agree. I'm pulling up my phone not because I'm being rude, but because that's where my notes are.
Gotcha.
Okay. So we get to dinner though,
Hmm.
and Cassie's like, you know what? I want the $0 case. I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't write down why. Why did Cassie want the $0 case? Did you catch that?
I didn't catch it either, and I thought I had written something down for it, but all I have in my notes is that Kasi wants to switch.
If you're
Um,
in the chat and have why, that's just an oversight on our parts, but tell us why.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, like, the big picture why is because Kasi was the mole. Player
yeah.
Kasi, I think, wanted to take the empty case. Maybe because she believed that Avery was the mole, question mark, but even then, player Kasi was more suspicious of Joy, who
Mhm.
already was sitting on the $8,000 case. So maybe just
Was
a
she
cut.
playing
Maybe for player Kasi, it was a matter of covering bases and making sure that the two people that she was suspicious of had money in their case at
maybe?
the sacrifice of $1,000 on her own part.
I don't know. Whatever the reason was, it worked. She got the
Yeah,
$0 case. Avery initially had it, and come to find out that in this elimination, Avery
Avery
goes home.
screamed. Yep,
Prior to that, Joy did try to pull another, sneaky and be like,
shithole
Kasi
mole. Yeah,
is the mole, which like she calls out the mole and doesn't vote for the mole that she calls out. But again, we'll
yeah,
get to the Joy segment later. I need a full on conversation about
yeah.
this. So before we see the actual elimination, we get some insight. So Avery thinks Joy might be the mole, but Will is questionable.
Hmm.
Will can't ignore Avery, but thinks Cassie is the mole. And Cassie thinks Joy is the mole. Joy thinks Will is the mole.
Yep.
So we've got Spider-Man meme, like fingers being pointed all
Yeah,
around.
everyone's pointing at everyone.
Everyone
There's a
is the
couple
mole.
things that I flagged during this little like quiz montage. Will calls Kasi manipulative.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure we've seen like actual manipulative behavior from Kasi. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I feel like just like as a personality, Kasi is very good at disarming you.
Yeah. She's
Um,
very she's quiet and calm. The way she speaks. I mean,
yeah,
I don't think we saw one instance of Cassie seeming like she didn't have control of her emotions and was
right.
always very like stoic in how she spoke.
Hmm.
So no, I agree with you. I think manipulative is the wrong word, but I mean, in 2022, people love to misuse um like those type of terms. If I hear gaslight be used incorrectly one more time, I'll flip my
Yeah,
fucking lid. It is not
that's true.
gaslighting if someone lies to you. Gaslighting it happens over a long period of time.
Yeah.
Like I've done a whole diatribe on this before. I don't need to do another one, but yeah, I mean overall, sure the mole is manipulative because they're trying to like get
Yeah.
you to believe that they're on your side, but Cassie is a person and what she's been doing, I wouldn't call manipulative.
Yeah, no, I can't think of anything that Kasi has done that I would flag as like outside of the duties of the mole manipulative.
Right. No, I agree with you.
Um, the other thing that I flagged was well, ultimately it doesn't matter, but Kasi ends up split or wait, okay, something super stupid just clicked in my head. Kasi says she's putting her answers on Joy, but I catch during the question of does the mole have kids, Kasi answers no because she's taking the quiz for herself.
Mhm.
So before the knowledge of Kasi being the mole, I figured, okay, is Kasi splitting her answers? No, she was just answering the quiz for herself, or at least that's where I'm led to believe.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's why I have, again, we're going to bring this up once we get to the end. The end has given me a lot of questions, more questions than answers almost. So, um, yeah, we can definitely use that as some information for the end, but
Right.
we'll get there. So we
We will
find
get
out that
there.
Avery is eliminated. Were you shocked?
A little, yeah. I mean, at this, I think I sort of planted my flag on Kasi being the mole after the Jacob elimination,
Mm-hmm.
so it made sense that it was Avery. I think Avery leaving only further cemented Kasi as the mole for me, because if it was either Joy or Will, I think that points fingers towards whoever of the two of them stays.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I feel like from a because Avery also says that she goes all in. I think we're led to assume that she goes all in on Joy. Um, yeah, so I mean, like, it makes sense. And in the moment, I was a little shocked just because I felt like Avery. I feel like a lot of people had the same idea, at least before this week, that Avery would make the final three. So to
Yep.
see her fall short there, I think was like a little bit of a shock. But when you're looking at the facts and looking at what happened and looking at what everyone said they were doing, it makes sense that Avery was the one eliminated.
Yeah, I think if you follow like the big story, the Greg elimination, the Pranav elimination, the Avery elimination are your most three shocking ones because all of them
Mm-hmm.
were framed in ways where like they're smart, they're understanding what's going on, they're reading people well, and to like lose them before the final three was shocking. And so yeah, I
Yeah.
really thought that she'd be making it and was very surprised at her elimination. Not so much in like if you sit and think about
Yeah.
this like what's presented to you, but in terms of the overall story, I think that like losing her, I mean losing any of them at that point would have been like a oh my god moment
Yeah, like
anyway.
these are I think these are some of, if not our four biggest characters of the
Yeah.
entire season. So losing any of them at that point would have been like a massive hit.
Yeah, absolutely. So we get the, let's talk about Avery, or like let's talk about the player who was just eliminated after they
Mm-hmm.
leave. And again, like Will's been making me laugh these last few episodes where he was just like, well, Avery taught me patience.
Yep.
I just started cracking up.
Interesting that he didn't say that about Jacob.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he called, I can't even get over the fact that he was like, the realist player, or he was a realist player here, which, like, do you not remember when he clapped at you in a very condescending
The
way
golf
while
clap.
he was like
Has that turned into a
protecting
GIF
Joy?
yet?
I
I
don't
feel
know.
like I
I asked
need
for
the
one.
Jacob golf clapping GIF in my life.
Yeah, if you're one of the people who can make gifts, I actually asked for one. I made the reference to you in the DM that you didn't get to read until like 8 hours later of like, bro, we need to talk about both episodes because I cannot sit here
Yeah.
and wait
Wait, did
because
you send those DMs last night?
no, I sent them this morning.
Oh, okay.
No, I knew you were working, but so Nen and I watched the first episode and she was very great about like stopping after the first one because I'm like, I don't know, or I would rather do both, knowing that there wasn't a lot coming up. So
Mm-hmm.
um I messaged you being like, let's do this because it's also the cast was tweeting a lot and I'm like trying to scroll past them. I didn't want to get spoiled, but
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, I'm like dodging spoilers out here like Greg and the lasers. And then I tweeted out, I'm like, someone make this gif because I feel like I'm doing the chair pose, the snake pose, the sucking my
Downward
tummy in at the New
dogs. Yep.
Jersey shore pose, like avoiding these things. Like I need this right now. But um yeah, if you can make that gif and the condescending clap gif, I'll Venmo you like anywhere between $2 and $10, depending on if I got paid that
Yeah, I was
day.
gonna say $2.
Yeah, I
I would
might
say
feel
$2.
nice, like maybe 10. It all depends on if I got paid. So, uh,
Yeah.
But after Avery leaves, they head back to Sydney. It's the final 3. We get a little insight. So Will says Cassie is intelligent but cunning, and Will thinks that Joy has continuously cost the team money. Joy thinks it's Will, but it's suspicious that Cassie has been all over the place, and Cassie says she's leaning Joy, but it could be Will. So again, nothing too definitive here.
Right.
The last mission, first of all, Cassie, not that the other 2 didn't, but Cassie looked fucking fire
They were
in that suit.
stunning in those suits.
Joy too, but when I think because I saw Cassie first, that like I was
Mhm.
still just like marveling Cassie, that I did not take in the other 2 as much. If Joy had come out first, maybe I would have, but I was just like,
Yeah,
damn, she
they
should wear suits
all
more
looked
often.
really good. I
Like
agree.
they looked so good, but especially Cassie. Like Cassie, if this was a Taylor Swift song, you could be the man and like wear that suit. You looked fucking fire in it.
I
So
need
good.
to get in contact with whoever did the tailoring for this season.
Yeah, they did. That all 3 of them looked great. But Cassie, and I think it was because I saw Cassie first, especially, just I was like, you are stunning in this moment. Not that you aren't otherwise, but like looked
Yeah,
very good in a suit.
breathtaking, honestly.
Yes. Pulled it off very well. But they get in the car and the driver just hands them an iPad. Obviously, Alex is on the iPad.
Hmm.
And she explains their last mission. So they get to a fortress. This fortress is guarded by drones. And if a drone senses 3 seconds of continuous movement, you're automatically done with the mission. No prize money whatsoever.
Hmm.
But you are trying to move through the fortress to get to 3 different canisters of $5,000, and each canister is protected in a different way. So, you need to get as many of them as you can without being caught by the drones and get out. And you have, was it an hour?
It was 30
Half hour,
minutes.
30 minutes,
Yeah.
30 minutes. Yeah, because I remember being like, oh, this is the beginning of episode 10. So yeah, we're
Mhm.
already in the final episode.
Yeah.
We're in the beginning of episode 10, and this is a short episode, so there wasn't a lot of
Very
time. But
short.
yes, and again, we're going to talk about that at the end because I've got gripes.
Hmm.
So we've got them like running through the fortress. They escape the drones well. They don't really have an issue, but they get to this red zone first for the first canister, and what they have to do is the canister is like suspended in the air above a pit essentially,
Hmm.
and they have a couple of poles that they need to use to unlock the canister from how it's being suspended, and use the poles to save the canister.
Right.
So Will and Joy decide to do that one together, and it was funny because then was like, oh no, we can't trust Cassie with a pole. Look what happened last time. Then right after, Joy's like, we can't have Cassie with the
Yep.
pole.
I feel like everyone's heads went there to the mailbag mission.
Yeah, but Joy saying that to me is rich because we keep letting her navigate. So
True. Where's Cassie's grace for mishandling a pole once?
yeah, she had one chance. You had like 6, Joy. So in this part, Will is like, I need to put some suspicion on me. I need to throw people off whatever scent they're on, because he's implying like I'm not the mole, and if they vote for me as the mole, then they'll be wrong and I'm more likely to get more questions right. And then he's like, but Joy got to it before I could, because
Yep.
they end up getting the canister off of one of the 2 hooks that it's on, and they're trying to get it off. Did they even get off the second hook?
They got it off. I think. Yeah, they got it off the second hook, but Joy like shakes the poles, like
Poles.
trying to like I guess launch the canister to the side so that
I
it
have no
wouldn't just
idea.
fall straight down.
Yeah,
I mean, like if that's what Joy was trying to do, smart. Otherwise, why would you shake what seemed to be a very steady system, like a very
Mm-hmm.
sturdy system.
Yeah. If anything, I would have could they have just like walked to the side, like holding the canister?
Yeah, I think that might have been safer. But I mean, I guess we used this argument for the first time Joy had to use a map, but maybe it was the time pressure. You know, they only had 30 minutes. This was the first sort of like station they got to after I think 10 minutes, or at least I think that's what the timer on the bottom right of the screen, like that's what we're told the amount of time they have. So it could have been a time thing. Maybe Joy got nervous that the group was running out of time. So just launching the canister would be a lot faster and would be a
Mm-hmm.
lot surer of a way, I think, than having to like very carefully balance the canister between two poles while trying to like sidestep to safety.
Yeah, it also saves time if you just shake the poles and throw the canister of money into the big
True.
hole and lose
That's
it, and then you
that's
get to
also a big
proceed
time
on to the
saver.
next one anyway. So it's a great way to save money or
Yeah.
save time. So I guess
So
they went that
maybe
route.
that's where Joy was at. Maybe she was prioritizing saving time than earning money.
Mm-hmm. So then they dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge their way to the next one. And the
Mm-hmm.
next one, there's like a bunch of poles that are set up across the room, and they're given 2 suction cups that you can use to like um put against the wall, so you have like somewhere to put your hands and like climb using these poles. Basically the floor was lava in this, except
Mm-hmm.
there was no lava. It was like with sensors. So if you touch the ground, you're out.
Yeah.
And Kasi does this one because she's like, I do yoga. I'm flexible and can do these things. And literally, like,
I mean, to Kasi's point though, like episode 10 literally opens with her doing yoga. So
yep,
like
I'm not disagreeing with her doing yoga. I'm disagreeing. Like, again, it's just confusing to me because I don't know. If Will wants to be suspicious, then this is a great opportunity for him to be suspicious to go on there.
mm-hmm.
And then if you're Joy, you've now seen how many missions where you've been Kasi's partner, which just been sus as fuck. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, but it's fine. Let Kasi go. Because again, like I said, there's been plenty of final missions in other mole seasons where the mole just like behaves in the last mission
Yeah.
because they think that like the other players are going to try to bring suspicion on themselves and whatever. So,
And I mean, this
Ka-
would be the right mission to do that as well. Like this mission was only worth $15,000. The mission before it was worth 20,000.
yeah, yeah.
So I mean,
This mission's like far more doable though than the last one in terms of like
also true.
you had to just kind of hide from drones and then get the canisters. Like all 3 were definitely achievable.
Yeah.
But Kasi within like 10 seconds falls. They're done
Yep.
with that one. So before they could really get into it, but it's fine. They have one last one. So Will wanted to be suspicious, and in the 2 options he had, or the opportunities he had, he didn't. So
Poor
sorry, Will.
Will.
I guess you don't get to pretend to be the mole for the first time all season. Then we get to our last one, and essentially, once someone runs into this area, they have 5 seconds to get the canister over like the line that makes it, I guess, be like out of the area. I don't know if I
Yeah.
described
It
that
was
well,
like
but
a,
there's
it was like a room without a
yeah,
door.
but there was a window and there was a big cannon in this room, and there was like fake landmines on the floor,
Yeah.
and the canister of money was hanging in the window. So basically, someone had to go in there, get the canister, and figure out a way to get it out all within 5 seconds of the person like first stepping into this room. So they decide on the plan that Will's gonna run over there, take it, and throw it to Kasi, and Joy was gonna count the time out loud so that they knew where they were at.
Yeah.
And so Will runs in, takes it, throws it, and like we cut to a confession where he's like, is Kasi gonna catch this? Like, what's she gonna do? And Kasi does catch it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Props to
they
her.
take their 1 canister of money, they run out, and Joy literally gets out the gates as
With
time
like
runs out.
milliseconds to spare.
Yeah, the most exciting part of this mission, in my opinion, was the fact that the mole, and I don't mean Kasi, I mean the show, almost blew up its final 3
Yeah.
because Kasi was, like, on top of that fucking pyrotechnic thing.
Yeah.
She almost lost her face.
She almost lost it $5,000.
Yes. I was like, "Oh, shit, this was not, like we did not safety first this situation." Kasi almost died.
Yeah, those fake fires, real fires, maybe, they looked a little too close.
Yeah, I'm a safety first person, like I'm a weird combination of, like, I'll do any if I can talk my way into something, I think I can talk my way out, and I'll do
Mhm.
things like the next big thing I wanna do is bungee jump, like, I'm not afraid of it. I'm also a huge safety first person, and when I saw that, I was like, "A fire code, fire hazard, something." Like, Kasi almost lost her face, so
Yeah,
that
scary,
the real mission
honestly.
was escaping the fire. So not
Yeah.
only were the suits hot, but their faces were hot at the end too. What do you think of this mission for the as their final mission?
It's nice that they, like, circled back around to embracing the spy theme because I feel like we kind of got lost for a second.
Mhm.
Um, like, with the pigeon mission, like, what was spy themed about that? I mean, sure, someone got kidnapped, but
Don't
that
you
I feel like
dare insult James
it's
Vicases or whatever his name is. Did I totally make up his name?
Pigeon was it Pigeon Jimmy? Pigeon
Jimmy? Yeah, so his
was
real
it
name
Jimmy?
was James though. James Vascos, I think, or something like
Yeah.
that. But listen, I'm trying to get him on this podcast too.
Honestly, that'd be a bigger get than any of the cast, I think. But yeah, I mean, it was for the cinematics of it all, I think was a great way to cap like the missions of the season. Like they got them all dressed up for it. They really went all out on the effects budget and like the technology budget. Like, did we have like active drones for any other mission? I can't recall. This is
I
definitely
don't
the
think
first
so.
time we are getting pyrotechnics this season, so that was exciting.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so I mean, from like a production and cinematic standpoint, I really like this as a final mission. From a like mechanical standpoint, I think it left a little to be desired because it was
Mhm.
just okay. All three of you are moving as a group. Like it was too linear, I think,
Yeah,
mechanically.
I get what you're
Because it
saying.
was just move as a group, go to point A, then go to point B, then go to point C, then you're done. And it was like there wasn't a lot to do outside of exactly what they were told to do.
Mhm. No, I agree with you. Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. But they end up with
Mhm.
5 grand and a total of $101,000. Wait, 101 Oh my god, I taught math for
Yeah.
11 years. Um, $101,500.
There
I'm,
we
like,
go.
looking at
Yep.
this number, I'm like, "Bro, how do you read this out loud? Like, how do you use the words with the numbers here?" Anyway, I was certified in 3 different states to teach children math, um, and I couldn't read a 6-digit number, so don't worry, your kids are safe. I'm not in the education field anymore.
I mean, 1,000 geez,
See?
$101,500. That is like, considering at the end of episode 5, the group was at what,
Like 3,000?
$3,500? Like, to
Yeah,
yeah, so
3,500.
to that's a massive jump, and, like, ha hats off to the group, honestly. Maybe, like, a little you should have done more to Kasi, because to
Mhm.
make that kind of jump in, what, like, 6, 7 missions, I feel like
Yeah.
it takes a lot of teamwork from the players' part, um, but yeah, I mean, I was left, like, thinking, "How did we get to 6 digits when halfway through the season we were at 4?"
Say that one more time because I was reading the last comment we got and my brain didn't hear the last sentence of what you said. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, for me, it's very impressive to see the group go from 4 digits money wise at
Yeah.
the like first half of the season to now jumping to well into the 6 digits going into the final.
Yeah.
Well, not well into the 6 digits, but like we're
I mean, it was
there.
6 digits. Yeah, we made it.
Yeah,
It counts. Yeah, I agree. I didn't think of it that way. Um, in terms of that big of a jump in a somewhat short amount of time, in about half the season, but
hmm
yeah, I guess I mean, it's a big jump. No, I mean, nonetheless, I don't even know if it's like you can really contribute a lot of the money out of the pot to Kasi, which
yeah,
we saw like we'll talk about it soon, but we see in the points where she sabotaged, and so it's interesting to compare. I All right. If there's some like data nerd out there who wants to like make a chart of like how much money each player lost for the team, there's a chance that Joy was the better mole than Kasi this season. Like,
yeah.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Avery even.
Mhm. So,
That'd be like a fun activity to do on a rewatch.
yeah, if I do want to go back and watch from the beginning cuz I feel like Kasi was very under-edited in the first
I
few
agree.
episodes to
Yeah,
see where she was at. I think that um from the one where she wasn't reading the names for the bank heist
yeah. The
one.
bank heist.
I think, like, from there on out, we got a bit more Kasi, but I wouldn't mind going back and watching, like, week 1 episodes to see, like, how what she was doing and how she was
Yeah,
moving. Because really, the only thing I really remember besides the bank heist thing was Kasi being like, "No, I'll take Dom back." Like,
yeah.
he's a nice guy, and he's really not that big of a player, so we have I don't wanna mispronounce your name. So if
Is
I
it
say this wrong, I
Frahola?
apologize. I would say, do you say Frajola or Frahola? Spell it out for us in the chat so we don't like
Yeah, like
mispronounce it again. But
write out
um
the pronunciation.
yeah, I'm a very phonetic person. Did you listen to the first 5 episodes? I couldn't even pronounce Kasi and it's 4 fucking letters. So um they said that they saw on Reddit that Kasi cost a group around 50,000 and the rest of the players cost a group around 100,000. Yeah, I would love the breakdown of that.
Yeah, I would love it like an episode by episode, or not episode by episode per se, but like a mission by mission, like
Mhm.
who is costing the group money.
Yeah.
For Jola, okay.
Okay, thank you. Um Yeah, I really do try to pronounce people's names correctly, I swear. Even though
Some
if you
names are
watch the first
hard.
few episodes. Yeah, Kasi. So, all right, we get to the final elimination after this. All the players are back and we get to see or hear from a couple of them. Really, they talk about like the last 3 who were eliminated prior to this final 3. So like Jacob, who do you think is the mole? Jacob thinks Will is the mole.
Mhm.
Avery says Kasi is the mole, and like Avery should think Kasi is the mole because if you actually split your questions between Joy and Will, and you got sent home, like Kasi has to be the mole.
Yeah.
And Casey thinks it could be Joy, but again, it just shows that like people were split on it. But
Yeah.
um here was like an all-time Joy moment for me. And the players take the quiz. Alex has them out in front of the other players, and Joy's like, "Yep, I don't know if it's my mom tuition, my God tuition, but I know who the mole is."
Maybe non-tuition joy.
All right, here's where I want to have the Joy conversation because as we've
Okay,
established,
let's do
Will
it.
won. So Will won. He picked Kasi. Joy picked Will, and then Kasi picked Joy, which I want to talk about after because,
Mhm.
like we were saying before with the quiz, but we'll talk about that. All right, here's where I want to talk about Joy. I am confused because I need to know, did Joy have a
Mhm.
strategy? Did Joy come in being like, I'm going to tank shit left, right, and center for the first half and then start to pick it up? and start to be like she said, I'm gonna be the MVP, I'm gonna be the hero or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a strategy? Was that coincidental that she was just not good at the beginning, but like also willing to take $25,000 from the team to get an exemption, but then also like pass up on an exemption that wouldn't have cost the team anything? Like, was there strategy coming into this that this is what I'm going to do? Or was it just like what coincidentally happened and she found herself like starting to make money for the team? I need to know those things because
Mm-hmm.
the part that throws me off is she was set on Will from the beginning, but in the last 2 missions, especially, or not 2 missions, but 2 of the last missions, she was partnered exclusively with the mole. Cassie was telling you that birds weren't flying in a circle, that pigeons weren't flying in the circle, and you saw it with your own 2 eyes. That is the closest to short-term gaslighting I've ever heard my entire life. Like, that is almost the
Mm-hmm.
first proper use that I've heard of it when it's not over a long-term thing. Second, you get to the pigeons and she is fighting you to not put that your pigeon in the air. You work with her on this mountain and she's throwing ice cubes off of, like, she's literally throwing money away. It's not even figurative. She was literally throwing money away and doing it with a smile on her face. And you
Mm-hmm.
still are so set on Will, the person who, I mean, and it wasn't even like, oh, I make the most money, look at me go. And you're like, bro, you haven't done anything. Like, he was the like leader in terms of trying to win the
Yeah.
money, especially after Dom left. Like,
I think overall we can say that Will was the biggest earner for the group.
yeah, I don't know the exact stats, and if someone wants to prove
Yeah.
us wrong, that's
If I had
fine.
to
But
guess. If I had to
yeah,
guess.
I just am so lost on like, how did Joy make it this far if she was always voting for Will? Why was there not a moment of question in like your experiences with Kasi? What was your strategy? Like, I am just, Joy is one of the most perplexing finalists of a reality TV show I've ever watched. Ever.
I mean, okay, so to your first point, I think like as to whether or not there was a strategy there, I've settled on everyone's sort of base strategy as go in, or I guess everyone's base strategy except for like Will and Dom, maybe go in, try to look like the mole, so that's more eyes on you as the mole, makes it easier for you to find out who the mole actually is. Um, I think if I had to like hypothesize, I think the turning assumption, I think seeing the reaction to that, I think maybe shook her out of that strategy and sort of pivoted to, okay, I'm going to try to win as much money for the group as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Again, there's like slip ups along the way. Um, and as far as consistently being suspicious of Will, I would have to go back, but I feel like there could be a world where a lot of the quiz questions or the answer to a lot of the quiz questions could hit on both Will and Kasi. So that would
That's what I was
explain
trying
why she
to,
never got eliminated if she was so gung ho about Will.
yeah. I was trying to
Yeah, go
think
ahead.
about that, and I would need to like go back and rewatch and really pay attention. And again, another reason why I would love to have access to like some of these quiz results later um to see, but
Yeah,
like how Joy kept getting by with Will as her number one target, because the other thing is like a lot of the things were based off of like, did the person stand or sit in this instance? What group were they in?
yeah.
Like what color shoes? Like things like what's their
Especially with the stand
astrology
and sit, I feel
sign?
like as I think the two tallest people on the cast, Will and Kasi, were almost always standing. If there was
Yeah.
part of the group that were standing and a part of the group that were sitting, so like questions like that I'd be like, okay, I can see where the overlap is and why Joy would be safe.
I'm just so confused how she got to where she was with her actually thinking that Will is the mole, and then second, like, I'm just really confused by the strategy with her, like, not being the mole, I guess.
Yeah.
So, I have a lot of questions. I would love to talk to her and be like, "Tell me what you were thinking.
Yeah,
Like,
like,
what
lay it
was
all out there.
your game plan? Were you playing off of" like, she said, like, she has her God tuition and mom tuition. How much should that play into your decisions? Because we also saw her call people out. She called out everybody except for
Pretty
Will,
much, yeah.
um, for being the mole as, like, things got down. So it's not like she didn't have the backbone to do things, and I don't know, like, Joy has definitely won over a lot of, like, our corner of the internet's
Mhm.
hearts, and, she's left me confused. I just am
Yeah.
confused by Joy.
I
Would
mean, I
love to
think
talk to her.
I think another thing too could be that after a certain point, like, maybe before Kasi was becoming increasingly obvious, Joy was just so tunnel visioned on Will, and no one around her is gonna tell her that she's wrong because they wanna win
Right,
themselves.
right.
So, with no one there to tell Joy to reconsider, maybe she just got, like, so tunneled that she didn't just take a second to, like, stop and realize that, no, Kasi isn't trying to double bluff or bluff you, like, Kasi is literally being the mole right in front of your face.
And Fedrola makes a great point. That shithole mole gambit may have legit kept her
I
in the game
agree.
because, like Greg said on his way out, Joy might have cost him the game. And because I thought Greg had it if Kasi was the mole. I wasn't sure Kasi was the
Mhm.
mole at that point, but I thought Greg had it. So, yeah, I'm confused. I Let's talk about the quiz because I
Mhm.
get how it's thrilling at the end for Alex to be like, okay, all three players picked a different person as the mole. The mole knows who the mole is. The mole should not be picking someone else. Like, I don't like the way that it was done where it's like mole first. So we find out
I th
Will. I
Yeah,
think
that's
you
true.
should be presenting it as the winner
Mhm.
and then the mole.
Yeah. I think have
Because
I
why?
think
Why are we
having
pretending that the mole picked
Kasi
someone else?
I think having Kasi still go for Joy was just for the sake of the reveal. I
Mhm.
think I mean, that would have to presuppose that they were always going to reveal the mole before they revealed the winner, which
Mhm.
doesn't make a ton of sense because, again, like you said, if we know that everyone chose someone else to be the mole, revealing the mole is just going to automatically imply the winner. Whereas if you reveal the winner first, it still leaves like a little mystery in the air as to who the mole actually is.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I mean, so if we're supposing that they were always going to reveal the mole first, then it makes sense to have Kasi go for Joy just so that it can build up suspense in that way. I just feel like you said, the better option was to reveal Will as the winner first, and then have Will himself say who he
Yes.
picked as the mole.
Yes, absolutely. That I didn't even think of that part of, like, him saying who it was, but yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And that comes into play with, like, what you were talking about with Joy picking not Joy, Kasi picking an answer that was just not true for
Hmm.
what was being said versus who the actual mole is, because the mole should be getting a 100 on every quiz. The quiz is about
Right.
themselves.
Hmm.
So, um, I want to talk about this last episode specifically because I think we had probably like 8 great episodes. We had 1 good episode, and then this last one was, like, so anticlimactic, and
It was
I'm really
yeah.
just, like,
It was
mad
too
at
rushed.
reality. Yeah, I'm mad at reality TV right now. They're just, like, not doing finals well, and it
Hmm.
almost feels like they run out of steam or budget at the end. They're like, "Shit, we just gotta, like we
Yeah.
just gotta figure it out." So, um as I mentioned in previous podcasts, I had recently watched the Celebrity Mole, the first one of it, and without revealing who won, lost, or who the mole was, they brought everyone back just like they did here, but we talked to them a little bit ahead of time,
Yeah.
like, okay, what are you thinking? Like, a lot of them still lost, and then they revealed the mole, they revealed the winner, and then we revealed like the ways that the mole sabotaged, which we did see that, and I really didn't think we saw anything like that wasn't that obvious as soon as we know that Cassie's the mole. Like, I did
Yeah,
think it was
like,
funny, Cassie's
literally
facial expression with the key, like, looking at the camera and, like, fourth wall breaking it, just, like, I obviously see that
yeah.
right there.
That part was funny. Yeah,
Yeah.
I literally have written down my notes, nothing shocking. Like, everything that we saw through, like, Cassie's, like, mole vlog montage, like, it's stuff that we've seen already, except for, like you said, like, the fourth wall breaks and, like, the little wink winks to the camera of, like, "I'm the mole."
Mhm. And, but we didn't see like, I've liked how we see how the winner gets to where they are because
Mhm.
not again, like, spoil the celebrity season, but the person who won the celebrity season, they would have gone home either once or twice if they weren't the fastest person to take the quiz out of, like, the lowest score. So, like, give us some results of some quizzes and, like, let us see how like, was Will close to being eliminated at any point? Because
Yeah.
clearly he was wrong on a couple of his moles. We saw him almost have meltdowns at the dinner table, finding out that his mole was walking out the door with Alex. Like, let us see some of that. Let us hear some conversation between the 3 finalists and the people that they helped eliminate in ways or,
Yeah.
like, the fact that they were just like, "Okay, this is a mole, this is a winner, we're out, bye." Like, "What? That's it?"
Yeah, the reunion was literally Cassie as the mole. That was it. Here's what Cassie did as the mole. Done.
There
Roll credits.
there was also clues throughout the season, which a lot of them,
Mhm.
I'm assuming, were, like, CGI'd in, so it makes sense that Alex couldn't
Yeah, I
explain them.
know for sure that there was one clue that was definitely CGI'd in on the pizza box during the,
Yep.
pigeon mission. The first time we see the pizza box in Avery's cell, we see, like, a chain of numbers that if you, like, take the numbers apart, they spell out
Mhm.
Cassie's name, but every
Mhm.
single other time we see that same pizza box in Avery's cell, that number's gone.
Mhm. There was also in the mission where not Avery, sorry, Cassie takes the exemption, for a flash second, they had like an arrow pointing down and Cassie's initials
Mhm.
backwards. Um, on the bomb at the table where um like the weird food one with like the
Mhm.
spicy foods and everything, apparently there
Mhm.
was a zip code that if you figure out that zip code, it's where her father is famously from as like an activist in Kentucky. So there was I
Okay.
also read that there was a Colombian flag on the plane in episode 1. So the plane was a clue. It wasn't Joy's clue. It was
Oh, okay.
Cassie's clue because she went to Colombia. And um the other big one, give me a second. Oh, in Cassie's jail cell there was Chinese checkers on the wall and Cassie
Mhm.
speaks Chinese, Mandarin Chinese. So
Oh, okay.
so there was definitely like clues along the way. If I missed any, I'm sorry. I kind of like got
Yeah, I
frustrated that
know
I read
that
those clues in the first place. And I'm gonna advocate for some stuff later on in some online communities that I'm in. So for those of us who
Uh-huh.
don't like inspect for those things, that we don't accidentally read them. But anyway, there was
Yeah.
like in past seasons, they explain the clues that we've been given that the players haven't been given, give a
Yeah, they showed us
rundown of
clues,
that.
yeah.
So again, there was just a lot of things that were left to be desired with this last episode. And it sucks because like you gave us 80% of this season was phenomenal. I thought episode 9 was a little like it was good, but wasn't
It was
anything like the
okay.
first 8.
Yeah.
And but then to just cut the reunion, the last episode was only 35 minutes. Like, what runtime are you held to right now? Is fucking Big Bang Theory starting after this? No. Okay, so like, why are we rushing out of here?
they have to roll the teaser for Stranger Things season 5, even though it doesn't come out for another 2 years.
Yeah, so I was just very frustrated because I asked on Twitter when I was like trying to figure out scheduling stuff for us. I'm like, someone tell me without spoiling this for me. Is it just the reunion episode 10 and then like how long is it? And when they said 35 minutes, I'm like, what?
Yeah,
We were out here
no.
last week being like, oh, we're gonna get like an hour and a half, 2 hour
Right?
final episode, and they're like, here's 4.5 minutes, here's everything you need.
Take
Bye.
it or leave it, losers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I also wanted to just give a shout out to Peridium on Twitter, who I think has a thread outlining episode by episode all the clues that we are the audience are given towards Coffee being the mole.
Oh, nice. I don't follow this person. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's not you, it's me. But
I mean, I had to scroll past it really quickly because I was in that moment. I was still living in my delusion that Jacob was the mole.
yeah.
But yeah, I noticed the thread and scrolled quickly past it.
Yeah. So, I mean, overall, I would still give this season an A. I loved
Yeah.
it. If I were to make improvements, it would be give us a better last episode reunion finale. And I mean, I thought casting was great. We had so many interesting characters. My other one thing, which is not a complaint with the mole, but the mole communities that I'm in, is like, let's make a separate channel for those clues so I don't have to accidentally see them.
Yeah.
So otherwise, like, bring me season 2.
Same. I mean, I would overall, since we're giving grades, I would give this season, I think, maybe like an A minus B plus. Like you said, these last 2 episodes I feel like left a lot to be desired content wise. Other than that, the episodes have been really great. My only other like big gripe is that I wish there was I wish the cast was more age diverse. Like we
Yes.
get a lot of people in like their late 20s, early 30s. I think Casey is no,
Yeah.
Joy is the oldest at 40.
Oh, right.
So like we're
Right.
not getting like a huge so yeah, that would be that and sort of more consistent editing throughout would be my 2 biggest critiques.
Yeah, I guess like if you paid attention to the editing, especially the way that Kasi was edited, we did not get a lot of her strategy until it was too late to like, why are you focusing on her strategy now? Why are we not getting more of hers throughout the season from like a player perspective? So I can definitely agree with that. But hopefully this is a learning experience and we're gonna come back with a bigger and better season 2.
Hell yeah.
If you gave this a B plus, I would be the student coming up to you being like, you sure you can't bump that to an A minus? Like, I'm just missing honor roll. Like, let me get that. Let me get that A minus.
I mean, I could be pressured into an A minus. I think is where I'm landing on.
I could be blackmailed into an A minus.
Yeah. Yeah. You know,
don't look at my Twitter,
during
kid.
negotiations, how you're supposed to give your highest that you're willing to go, and then slowly work your way down to like the more reasonable price. I think I'm working in the opposite direction, where I'm giving like my floor, and I am very open to being convinced to give a higher grade.
Yeah, I understand. I'm gonna invite Star back up for the end. Come on, Star.
Hey, Star.
No, just kidding. Okay, all right.
What, third, fourth, fifth co-host? Because Nitro's third.
Nitro has to be third. He's
and
back
so
in
I guess
Chicago.
Star would have to be fourth.
4, yes, but we're definitely a dog-friendly podcast. Bring your dogs on.
Indeed.
All right. Well, let's round this out before we do our whole little spiel at the end. We are working on getting some post-season interviews with some of the cast. Well, I mean, we'll take all of them. We'll even take Pigeon Jimmy. So we're working on that. So I don't think it'll be the last that you see JD and I together before next season.
Prioritizing Pigeon Jimmy. Hey.
Yeah. Pigeon Jimmy's going to be our first one. So we'll hopefully have more coverage for you, but we appreciate you guys listening all season. We got great feedback from you. We've loved doing it, and it's just been a blast. So thanks everybody is listening to what we've done.
Yeah, thank you guys so much, especially from like my first season recap podcast thing ever. Like I've had a lot of fun, and the reception has been much better than I had ever imagined. So thank you guys for that.
Yeah, like to take a second, I think I've explained it before, but I said to like our silent podcast group, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna podcast about this. And no one was like, if you're looking for a co-host, and which I was like, that's great because I had seen JD tweeting about it. And I went to my co-host on a lot of podcasts, Katie. I was like, I'm gonna ask JD to podcast with me. And before she even told me if it was a bad or good idea, I messaged JD. I was like, hey, come do this with me. And so you've done great. Like for your first time
Thank
podcasting
you.
about anything like this, like you've done great. So send JD nice things on his Twitter. JD, what's your Twitter?
You can follow me at Twitter. That is at deadcrush, DEADCRSH. There is no vowel in the word crush. Yeah, I mean, check me out. I'll be tweeting about the Survivor season while I'm awake to watch it live. I'll usually do like a thread or just tweet like two random thoughts here or there if I don't catch it live. Other than that, uh, Carly Rae Jepsen released an album today. Taylor Swift released an album today. Kimbra released a single today. So it's a big day for me in music. So if you want to catch up on my thoughts on that, I'll also be sharing those there. And otherwise, just generally vapid and meaningless shit. So if that's your vibe, come check me out.
If you're looking for a low quality of internet life, follow me.
Yeah, that I mean, I'm your guy. Anything low quality, I am your guy.
All right. First of all, we have to go to the YouTube comments because, um, first of all, Andrew, thank you that you said you could listen to us all night. No one has ever said they want to listen to me talk for that long. So there's a first time for everything.
Thank you, Andrew.
Second, JD, first for Joel is saying first time.
Wow.
Thought you're an
Thank
old
you for
pro.
Jola.
And again, like I've been raving about you to anyone who will listen to me. I'm like, no, working with JD has been great. We absolutely love it. And then third, is your Twitter handle an Alt J reference?
Indeed it is for Jola. You are correct.
I think you guys are maybe soulmates. Like
Yeah.
that's the only explanation here.
Where have you been all my life for Jola?
All right. Well, you can follow me at KGD26, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. My rotisserie chicken week is coming up very soon. That starts Monday. So follow TikTok for more coverage on rotisserie chicken week. And if you want to know what that is, I can't remember what episode we talked about. We didn't talk about it with Katie. We talked about the episode before Katie. So it was after Naomi left the
Yeah, after
episode.
Naomi left.
Episode 6 coverage. If you want to know what rotisserie chicken week is, that's where you could listen to it. Go to the end. But otherwise, for Silent Podcast, I'm podcasting about Real Housewives with Katie on the Cool Water Show. That's once a week. Last week, we talked about Potomac. We talked about BravoCon. We talked about Salt Lake City. We talked about Beverly Hills. There was a lot to talk about last week. This week, we'll be covering more of the Beverly Hills reunion, Salt Lake City and Potomac. Potomac is so much fun. And Katie and I are back with the Challenge podcast. We call that TJ Hates Quitters. The first episode was like surprisingly good. And I think I was just still angry at the Challenge USA. And I was going into it with a negative attitude, but I was very happy with the first episode. I haven't watched the second episode yet, but we'll be back with that coverage probably on Monday. So look out for me and Katie there. And then otherwise, look out for JD and I with this postseason coverage. We know that there's some people who are excited to talk to us, like, which is just so flattering. But
yeah, that's so exciting.
Listen, I've been busy in the DMs of people. So mole players, pigeon handlers, get at me.
Alex
All
Wagner.
right.
Yeah.
Here's where you can find us. So if you are a YouTube, Twitch kind of person, because I know some people prefer that over podcasts, you can search Silent Podcasts on both of those, subscribe, and you can see a bunch of other coverage of other shows we're doing. For example, we had Isaiah and Josie talk to Arissa Cox from Big Brother Canada, the host of Big Brother Canada this week. So if you're a Big Brother Canada fan, and she's just
Living
like an
legend,
all-around like reality TV fan, like amazing personality. She's awesome. We need more Arissa Coxes in the reality TV realm. They got to interview her. So check that out. We have coverage of Survivor going on, The Amazing Race, the shows that I've mentioned, Andor, House of Dragons. Like, we got a little bit of everything, so check it out. And we're also
We're
on
stacked over
Twitter.
here.
Yes. We're also on Twitter, silent_podcast. So you can see, we'll tweet out when our like upcoming interviews are and what we've already done. So check that out there. For podcasts, we're Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. So make sure you rate, subscribe. We would love 5 stars. As JD has learned, it's either 5 stars or keep it moving. And say something nice about us. We love that. But sorry, I just saw the comment. I downloaded TikTok for that. So Andrew,
I think if you
hope you like
haven't
rotisserie
downloaded
chicken.
TikTok already and followed Kari, I think that is your homework assignment between now and our first
Monday.
interview.
Yeah, I'm gonna wake up and order a rotisserie chicken Monday
Yeah,
morning.
do Monday.
Man, saying this stuff out loud. I told my boyfriend and he like didn't even flinch. He was like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "You're not gonna call me stupid or like anything?" Like, there's
like,
no pushback on
I
this.
feel like the proper first reaction should be why.
I always led with the why. I explained that
Gotcha.
I always like brought up the story first, and he was just like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, how the? I don't understand why so many people have just been like not questioning me as a human. Like, Kari, you're too smart for this. Kari, like, anything. I guess I'm not. Like, no one thinks I'm too smart for this. Maybe I just think I'm too smart for this. But
I feel
yeah,
like
so
this is a high IQ endeavor.
debatable at best, JD. Debatable. All right. Well, we'll be back soon. Keep an eye out on our Twitter. We'll keep you updated with a schedule for it because obviously with like the Friday episode drops, it's easy to know when we were coming back. But we're going to be working around some newfound reality TV stars schedules plus our own. So we'll definitely keep you updated over on our Twitter and my Twitter, JD's Twitter. We'll make sure that you have the information. But otherwise, again, thank you for listening. We will catch you with our first postseason interview, hopefully very soon. But
Yeah,
until then,
crossed.
yeah. Bye, guys.
Thank you, guys. Bye.